So you mentioned Saudi Arabia and how it wants to see the downfall of both the US and Iran.
It wants to see the downfall of Israel, US, and Iran.
And to me that sounds like a pretty big goal. And how would they possibly use their strategy to achieve that goal? Or how would it possibly be for Saudi Arabia?
Okay. All right. So it's very confusing to people why Saudi Arabia is actually against Iran, okay? But actually, if you go back and look at their history, they have major conflicts with each other. All right, so let's go over some of their conflicts. All right, so Saudi Arabia, Iran. The first major conflict is that Iran is a theocracy and Saudi Arabia is a monarchy. A theocracy just means that you're ruled by clerics who represent God. The monarchy is a king who represents God. And for the Iranians, that is blasphemy, that's heresy, that's against the religion, okay? So Saudi Arabia and Iran hate each other. Saudi Arabia sees Iran as a threat and trying to induce a revolution within Saudi Arabia. Iran sees Saudi Arabia as blasphemous, okay? And it's a huge issue because Saudi Arabia is the home of Mecca, Medina, the two holiest sites in the Islamic world, okay? Second issue is that Saudi Arabia is Sunni and Shia and Iran is Shia. So these are two different sects of the same religion, but it's like Protestants and Catholics. They just hate each other, okay? Okay, and the last thing is that Iran is anti-US and Saudi Arabia is pro-US. What this means is that Saudi Arabia has military bases, American military bases, inside of the Holy Land. And for the Iranians, that is the worst crime, right? Because it's infidels who are protecting the Holy Land. Infidels are not allowed in the Holy Land, right? If you're not a Muslim, you're not allowed to go to Mecca, all right? Right? So Saudi Arabia and Iran hate each other. Saudi Arabia has a huge problem in that it is an oil economy. Most of its GDP comes from oil exports. And for the longest time, it was trying to build a knowledge economy. It was trying to build tourism. It was trying to promote games, okay? Does not work. So if you're Saudi Arabia and you see the future, it's a pretty dismal future because eventually your oil is going to run out. Eventually people are going to switch to electrical vehicles, digitalization, which means that oil is no longer so important, okay? So what you need to do is, if you're able to control the Middle East, right? So where you get your money now is from trade access, the Strait of Hormuz. That's a viable future. If you just sit back and wait, eventually your nation is going to run out of oil and therefore it's going to cease to exist. Okay, so Saudi Arabia needs to act now. And the way that it wants to act is it wants to create a conflict between the United States, Israel, and Iran where they destroy each other. Once they destroy each other, Saudi Arabia can come up on top. Now, Israel cannot be destroyed because Israel has nuclear weapons. But the goal is to negotiate a peace with Israel after the war is over. Right? Does that make sense? To split the Middle East between Israel and Saudi Arabia. But will Israel agree to this deal? Probably not. But according to game theory, Saudi Arabia has no choice in this matter because it is so far behind everyone else. Okay? It can only hope that this chaos leads to new possibilities. Because given the structure of the game so far, it does not have a very good future. Okay? Does that make sense? All right, any more questions, guys?